Good evening. Welcome to the Masterclass 2026, which started at the eve of the year in 2025. We wanted to be ahead of the year. The difference between trust and confidence. We keep talking about trust and relationships, which form the bedrock of all our work we do at the Learning Forward India Foundation. And it's important for us to understand the difference between trust and confidence. Let's see what it's all about. Thank you for letting me read. Youth, there is something about this affirmative resignation that sounds pessimistic. It's just too bleak if the upshot of all this lengthy discussion is resignation. Is that so? Resignation has the connotation of seeing clearly with fortitude and acceptance, having a firm grasp on the truth of things. That is resignation. There is nothing pessimistic about it, youth. A firm grasp on truth? Of course, just because one has arrived at affirmative resignation as one's self acceptance, it does not automatically follow that one finds community feeling. That is the reality. When one is switching from attachment to self to concern for others, the second key concept, confidence in others, becomes absolutely essential. Confidence in others, in other words, believing in others. Here, I will consider the words believing in others in the context of distinguishing trust from confidence. First, when we speak of trust, we are referring to something that comes with set conditions. In English, it is referred to as credit. For example, when one wants to borrow money from a bank, one has to have some kind of security. The bank calculates the amount of the loan based on the value of security and says, we will lend you this much. The attitude of we will lend it to you on the condition that you will pay it back, or we will lend you as much as you are able to pay back, is not one of confidence in someone, it is trust. Well, that's how bank financing works, I guess. By contrast, from the standpoint of Adlerian psychology, the basis of interpersonal relationship is not founded on trust, but on confidence. And confidence, in this case, is it is doing without any set conditions whatsoever. When believing in others, even if one does not have sufficient objective grounds for trusting someone, one believes unconditionally without concerning oneself with such things as security. That is confidence. Believing unconditionally. So it's back to your pet notion of neighborly love. Of course, if one believes in others without setting any condition whatsoever, there will be times when one gets taken advantage of, just like the guarantor of a debt. There are times when one may suffer damages. The attitude of continuing to believe in someone, even in such circumstances, is what we call confidence. Only a knave dimwit would do such a thing. I guess you hold with the doctrine of inanimate human goodness, while I hold with the doctrine of inanimate human evilness. Believe unconditionally in complete strangers, and you'll just get used and abused. And there are also times when someone deceives you and you get used that way. But look at it from the standpoint of someone who has been taken advantage of. There are people who will continue to believe in you unconditionally, even if you are the one who has taken advantage of them. People who will have confidence in you no matter how they are treated. Would you be able to betray such a person again and again? Well, it would be. I'm sure it would be quite difficult for you to do such a thing. After all, that are you saying one has to appeal to the emotions to keep on the holding faith like a saint and act on the conscience of other person? You are telling me that morals don't matter to Adler? But isn't that exactly what we are talking about here? No, it is not. What would you say is the opposite of confidence? An antonym of confidence? Ooh, it is doubt. Suppose you have placed doubt at the foundation of your interpersonal relationships, that you will live life doubting other people, doubting your friends, and even your family and those you love. What sort of relationship could possibly arise from that? The other person will detect and doubt in your eyes in an instant. He or she will have an instinctive understanding that this person does not have confidence in me. Do you think one would be able to build some kind of positive relationship from that point? It is precisely because we lay a foundation of unconditional confidence that it is possible for us to keep a deep relationship. Okay, I guess the way you understand Adlerian psychology is simple. Right now, if you're thinking, if I were to have confidence in someone unconditionally, I would just get taken advantage of. However, you are not the one who decides whether or not to take advantage. That is the other person's task. All you need to do is think, what should I do? If you are telling yourself, I'll give it to him or he isn't going to take advantage of me, it is just a relationship of trust that is based on security or conditions. So one separates these tasks to, yes, as I stated repeatedly, carrying out the separation of tasks returns to an astonishingly simple form. But while the principle of separation of tasks is easy to grasp, putting it into practice is difficult. I recognize that. Then you are telling me to keep on having confidence in everyone, to keep on believing in all other people, even when they deceive me, and just go on being knave fool? That's not philosophy or psychology or anything of that sort, of the sort. It's just the preaching of a zealot. I reject that definitively. Adlerian psychology is not saying have confidence in others unconditionally on the basis of a moralistic system of values. Unconditional confidence is a means of making your interpersonal relationship with a person better and for building a horizontal relationship. If you do not have the desire to make a relationship with the other person, then you go ahead and sever it because carrying out the severing is your task. Then, what if I have placed unconditional confidence in a friend in order to make our relationship better? I have jumped through all the sorts of hoops for this friend, gladly satisfied any request for money, and been unstinting with my time and efforts in this regard. But even in such cases, there are times when one is taken advantage of. For example, if one were horribly taken advantage of by a person one has believed in completely, wouldn't that experience lead to one to a lifestyle with and other people are my enemies outlook? It seems that you have not yet gained any understanding of the goal of confidence. Suppose, for example, that you're in a love relationship, but you're having doubts about your partner, and you think to yourself, I'll bet she's cheating on me. And you start making desperate efforts in search of evidence to prove that. What do you think would happen as a result? Well, I guess that would depend on the situation. No, in every instance, you would have to find an abundance of evidence that she has been cheating on you. Wait. Why is that? Your partner's casual remarks, her tone when talking to someone on phone, the times when you can't reach her, as long as you're looking with doubt in your eyes, everything around you will appear to be evidence and she's cheating on you, even if she's not. Hmm. Right now, you are only concerned about the times you were taken advantage of and nothing else. You focus only on the pain from the wounds you sustained on such occasions. But if you are afraid to have confidence in others in the long run, you will not be able to build deep relationships with anyone. Well, I see that you are getting at the main objective, which is to build deep relationships. But still, being taken advantage of it is scary, and that's the reality, isn't it? If it is a shallow relationship, when it falls apart, the pain will be slight. And the joy that relationship brings each day will also be slight. It is precisely because one can gain the courage to enter into deeper relationships by having confidence in others that the joy of one's interpersonal relationships can grow and one's joy in life can grow too. No, that's not what I was talking about. You are changing the subject again. The courage to overcome the fear of being taken advantage of. Where does it come from? It comes from self acceptance. If one can simply accept oneself as one is and ascertain that one can do and what one cannot, one becomes able to understand that taking advantage is the other person's task and getting to the core of confidence in others becomes less difficult. You are saying that taking advantage of someone is the other person's task and one can't do anything about it? That I should be resigned in an affirmative way? Your arguments always ignore our emotions. What does one do about all the anger and sadness one feels when one is taken advantage of? When one is sad, one should be sad to one's heart's content. It is precisely when one tries to escape the pain and sadness that one gets stuck and ceases to be able to build deep relationship with anyone. Think about it this way. We can believe and we can doubt, but we are aspiring to see others as our comrades, to believe or to doubt. The choice should be clear. Anyone wants to say anything? Do you believe? Do you doubt? How do you build trust? What are the confidence level?
Well, we do both. We believe, we doubt, then we believe again, then we doubt again. Okay. And based on the amount of beliefs and doubts we have had and the quality of it, we ultimately believe we build up a trust relationship or no, or a lack of it, whatever. But when we are building up a relationship, and we want to trust somebody, we want to then, there are times when we have to overlook many things which we feel was wrong. Okay. And there are times when we are overwhelmed by those people who know, by the lack of trust. And ultimately the relationship or relationship becomes strong when the trust part of it becomes stronger. And that is how it works. And that's how I've seen it work in my life, at least. It doesn't happen that we except in case of my very close ones, where trust comes first, and then comes it may break at times but not fully. Okay, otherwise when we are building up friendships and all these things, it's both a combination of both.
Thank you, Minakshi. Minakshi, I will urge you to reflect at the conversation at the start of the session. And I urge everyone to think about interpersonal relationships. So often, what you assume about the other person, you go about finding evidence to make you believe firmer. And that's human weakness. So, I am sharing a narrative with you because obviously, what we read in this chapter was it happens to us every day. My wife and me, we live in different cities. So, we get carried away sometimes, and these conversation and these relationships what we just read about is absolute truth. So you will then get a symptom, and from this symptom you'll go and find the disease. That's what the doctor does. And so often with symptoms, you give yourself medication without finding disease. Now that is harmful. So finding the right root cause or the depth of the particular action or not being non-judgmental, that's how you build trust and relationship. Thank you, Minakshi, for that perspective. We shall read on. Shalini, you want to say something? I saw a look on your face. You wanted to add something. Thank you. The essence of work is a contribution to the common good. So we move on to the next portion of the conversation on the fifth night. The essence of work is a contribution to the common good. All right. Well, suppose I have managed to attain self acceptance and that I have attained confidence in others too. What kind of changes would there be in me then? First, one accept one's irreplaceable this me just as it is. This is self acceptance. Then one places unconditional confidence in other people. This is confidence in others. You can accept yourself and you can have confidence in others. Think about this. You can accept yourself and you can have confidence in others. This is the most crucial way to look at life. So, what other people to you now? My comrades. Exactly. In effect, placing confidence in others is connected to seeing others as comrades. It is because they are one's comrades that one can have confidence in them. If they were not one's comrades, one would not be able to reach the level of confidence. And then having other people as one's comrades connects to finding refuge in the community one belongs to. So one can gain the sense of belonging that it's okay to be here. In other words, you are saying that to feel it's okay to be here, one has to see others as comrades. And that to see others as comrades, one needs both self acceptance and confidence in others. Look at that, self acceptance first, and then confidence in others. You cannot build confidence in others if you don't have self acceptance. That's the beauty. That's right. You are grasping this more quickly now. To take a step further, one may say that people who think of others as enemies have not attained self acceptance and do not have enough confidence in others. All right. It is true that people seek the sense of belonging, that it's okay to be here, and to get that, they need self acceptance and confidence in others. I have no objection to that, but I don't know. Can one really gain a sense of belonging just by seeing others as comrades and having confidence in them? Of course, community feeling is not something that is attainable with just self acceptance and confidence in others. It is at this point that the third key concept, contribution to others, becomes necessary. Contribution to others is to act in some way on one's comrade, to attempt to contribute. That is contribution to others. So, when you say contribute, you mean to show a spirit of self sacrifice and to be of service to those around you. Contribution to others does not connote self sacrifice. Adler goes so far as to warn that those who sacrifice their own lives for others are people who have conformed to society too much. And please do not forget, we are truly aware of our own worth only when we feel that our existence and behavior are beneficial to the community. That is to say, when one feels, I am of use to someone. Do you remember this? In other words, contribution to others rather than being about getting rid of the I and being of service to someone is actually something one does in order to truly aware of the worth of I. Contributing to others is for oneself. Yes, there is no need to sacrifice the self. Woohoo. Your argument is starting to crumble here, isn't it? You have done a wonderful job of digging your own grave. In order to satisfy the eye, one makes oneself of service to others. Isn't that the very definition of hypocrisy? I said it before. Your entire argument is hypocritical. It is a slippery argument. Look, I would rather believe in the villain who is honest about his desires than the good guy who tells a pack of lies. Those are a lot of hasty conclusions. You do not understand community feeling yet, then I wish you would provide concrete examples of what you consider to be contribution to others. The most easily understood contribution to others is probably work, to be in society and join the workforce, or to do the work of taking care of one's household. Labor is not a means of earning money. It is through labor that one makes contributions to others and commits to one's community, and that one truly feels, I'm sure I'm of use to someone, sorry, and even comes to accept one's existential worth. You are saying that the essence of work is contribution to others? Making money is a major factor too, of course. It is something akin to Dostoevsky's quote you happen upon. Money is coined freedom, but there are people who have so much money that they could never use it all. Many of these people are continually busy with their work. Why do they work? Are they driven by boundless greed? No, they work so they are able to contribute to others and also to confirm their sense of belonging. They're feeling that it's okay to be here. Wealthy people who, on having amassed a great fortune, focus their energies on charitable activities are doing so in order to attain a sense of their own worth and confirming for themselves that it's okay to be here. Hmm. I suppose that in one truth, but what? Self-acceptance, accepting one's irreplaceable, this me just as it is, confidence in others, to place unconditional confidence at the base of one's interpersonal relationships rather than seeding doubt. The young man found these two concepts sufficiently convincing. Contribution to others, however, has something he could not grasp. If that contribution is supposed to be for other people, then it would have to be one of bitter self sacrifice. On the other hand, if that contribution is actually for oneself, then it's the height of hypocrisy. This point has to be made utterly clear. In a resolute tone of voice, the young man continued. Young people walk ahead of adults. I will acknowledge that work has aspects of contribution to others, but the logic that says that officially one is contributing to others when one in actuality one is doing it for oneself is nothing other than hypocrisy. How do you explain that? Imagine the following kind of scene. It's after dinner at home, and there are still dishes left on the table. The children have gone off to their rooms, and the husband is sitting on the sofa watching television. It's been left to the wife, me, to do the dishes and clear everything up. To make matters worse, the family takes that for granted and they don't make the slightest effort to help. In such a situation, normally one would think, why won't they give me a hand? Or why do I have to do all the work? Even if I do not hear the words thank you from my family while I'm cleaning up, I want them to think that I'm of use to the family. Instead of thinking about what others can do for me, I want to think about and put into practice what I can do for the people. Just by having the feeling of contribution, the reality right in front of me will take on a completely different hue. In fact, if I'm grumbling to myself as I wash the dishes, I'm probably not much fun to be around. So everyone just keeps wants to keep their distance. On the other hand, if I'm humming away to myself and washing the dishes in good spirits, the children might come and give me a hand. At the very least, I'd be creating an atmosphere in which it is easier for them to offer their help. Hello, I'll take a pause here. That's the atmosphere we are creating for the joy of reading. I'm glad this passage is here today and we are here. So, when you read, and I am giving you an example, I'm not reading it as I want to give it to you. I'm reading it because I am enjoying it. I'm humming it. I'm singing it. I'm putting emotion, melodrama in my reading. And because I'm doing that, you like being here. I'm sorry I'm being so blatant, and I'm sure there will be an affirmative to what I've just said. You come here not because there is a book with you, not because we read together. You come here because you enjoy reading together. And that's what we have to do with life. So if I wash the dishes, I wash them with joy. So when you see the joy there, you will have people other wanting to share the joy. But if I'm going to be in a cribby mood, let's stay away from this person. So when you have a pleasant and a happy countenance or a culture or a smile, people like being around you. And that's the truth. So we roll along. Well, that might be the case in that setting anyway. Now, how come I have a feeling of contribution in that setting? I have it because I'm able to think of the members of the family as comrades. If I cannot do that, inevitably there will be thoughts running through my head like, why am I the only one doing this? And why won't anyone give me a hand? Contribution that is carried out while one is seeing other people as enemies may indeed lead to hypocrisy. But if other people are one's comrades, that should never happen, regardless of the contributions one make. You have been fixating on the word hypocrisy because you do not understand community feeling yet. Okay. For the sake of convenience, up to this point, I have discussed self acceptance, confidence in others, and contribution to others in that order. However, these three are linked as an indispensable whole in a sort of circular structure. It is because one accepts oneself just as one is, one self accepts that one can have confidence in others without the fear of being taken advantage of. And it is because one can place unconditional confidence in others and feel the people are one's comrades that one can engage in contribution to others. Further, it is because one contributes to others and that one can have the deep awareness that I am of use to someone and accept oneself just as one is, one can self accept. The notes you take down the other day, do you have them with you? I'm going to take a pause and pull Vikram in. Vikram, I'm sure this little passage will make you reflect. The last dialogue, because we work like comrades here, don't we? Vikram Kumar is here from EBD, and we have a lot of camaraderie here. And camaraderie is the key to any transformation in school culture. Shalini is here. I'm sure she's been in schools, and only when you can get this camaraderie can you truly have happy teachers helping happy students become happier. I've said happy, happy, happier. And I think this camaraderie and this feeling of being able to do something without thinking you're doing it for someone makes all the difference. And that's the beauty. So when I talk of camaraderie, I am carried away to go an example. We have a bookstore. So often we end up doing housekeeping, we end up doing every little core which is required for a great customer experience. We don't wait for the other person. We don't delegate the task. Why do we do that? Vikram, you have an answer for that? Vikram, would you like to unmute and come in? Okay. So we do that simply because we feel we all eat from the same bowl. The EBD example I'm giving you, we're sitting in the bookstore and the environment. We want the bookstore and the environment to be as hospitable as possible. And because we want it to be hospitable, we will go and use camaraderie as the core of our learning, as the core of our experience sharing, and as what we call at EBD our joy of giving. Here we go. Youth. Oh, you mean that note on the objectives put forward by Adlerian psychology? I have kept it on me ever since that day. Of course, here it is the two objectives of behavior to be self reliant and to live in harmony with society. The two objectives for the psychology that supports these behaviors the consciousness that I have the ability and the consciousness that people are my comrades. I'm going to repeat this the consciousness that I have the ability and the consciousness that people are my comrades. Welcome, Comrade Kunal. I'm happy to have you as a comrade. Welcome, Comrade Minakshi. Welcome, Comrade Manisha. We are all comrade in arms. So when you get time, check out this phrase, comrades in arms, and see how meaningful it is to what you do as teachers. If you overlap the content of this note with what we have just been discussing, you should be able to gain a deeper understanding. In other words, to be self reliant and the consciousness that I have the ability corresponds to our discussion of self acceptance. And then to live in harmony with society. And the consciousness that people are my comrades connects to confidence in others and then to contribution to others. I see. So the objective of life is community feeling. I think it will be some time. I can get this clear in my head though. Yes, it probably will. As Adler himself said, understanding a human being is no easy matter. Of all the forms of psychology, individual psychology are probably the most difficult to learn and put into practice. That's exactly right. Even if this the theory are convincing, it's hard to put them into practice. It is even said that to truly understand Adlerian psychology and apply it to actually changing one's way of living, one needs half the number of years one has lived. In other words, if you were to start studying it at the age of 40, it would take another 20 years until you're around 60. If you were to start studying it at the age of 20, it would take 10 years until you're around 30. You are still young, starting at such an early stage in life means that you might be able to change more quickly. A great message for the young people here. In the sense that you can change quickly, you are walking ahead of the adults of the world. To go about changing yourself and making a new world in a way, you are ahead of me too. It is okay to lose your way or lose focus. Do not be dependent on vertical relationships or be afraid of being disliked and just make your forward freely. All adults could see the young people who are walking ahead of them. I'm sure the world will change dramatically. This is why we are here. And this is the crux of our internship and fellowship. If all the adults could see the young people who are walking ahead of them, I'm sure the world would change dramatically. It's a very powerful message to the community we are part of, particularly the schooling community. I'm walking ahead of you. You certainly are. We walk on the same ground and you're moving on ahead of me. Haha, you're the first person I've ever met who would say such a thing to someone young enough to be his son. I would like more and more young people to learn about Adler's thoughts. And I would like more adults to learn about it because people can change regardless of ages. People can change regardless of ages. We will read one more chapter, but before I start on workaholism, I would like to take a moment and reflect at the audience here. We have a beautiful set of participants. So we have someone who is less than 20, we have someone who is around 20, we have someone 50 plus, we have someone 30 plus, we also have some of us 60 plus, and we have 40 plus. So you all have a very interesting message. Calculate your mathematics if you want the world to change. For the world to change, it's you who has to change, not the world. And that's the theory of camaraderie. And that's the beauty of horizontal relationships, which you've been talking about. So when we sit in a democratic setup like this classroom, it's the exemplar of horizontal relationships. We have people here from the age of 16 to 66. And I think this is a very powerful masterclass. It's a game changer. Over to you, Khushie. Please come in.
Good evening, sir.
God bless you. We love you, Lords.
Yeah, so as you were reading all the chapters and the lessons, so there was a word hypocrisy, and I wanted to know the meaning of it, as I've heard it a lot, but I don't know the meaning of it.
Could you repeat the word, please?
Hypocrisy.
Yeah. Hypocrisy simply is when you say something else, you do something else. When you don't practice what you preach, you are a hypocrite. Does that help, Kushi?
Yes, sir. And I also had a question that somewhere in the lesson it said that if you are about the age of 40, then you'll get to know the particular thing at the age of 60, and if you're age of 20, then you'll get it on 30. So I'm like, it will take 20 years for a 40-year-old man, and it will take 10 years for a 20-year-old man. So it's like, why?
Yeah. See, there are two reasons for it. You are at a very tender age in mind and body at this stage. So, first reason one is you are adaptable and your skin has not been hardened like an elder person. I'm giving you the physical example. And then I'm going to give you the next beautiful example is the mental example and we'll talk about the digital age. It takes a lot of effort for us who are 40 years ahead of you to adapt to the digital age. But you are digital natives and you learn things much faster than we can. For the simple reason that as life has made us grow up, we are becoming slow with our motor processes. When I say motor processes, I'm not just mean physical processes, but the information flow in our synapses also slows down as we grow. So you have the advantage of two things. You have the advantage of a physical ability, and second, you have the advantage of adaptability. So when you take physical and adaptability, you take the example of sports. Virat Kohli has resigned. He's not the same Virat Kohli who played cricket at the age of 18. So I think this will answer a lot of your questions, Kushi. Does that help? Shalini, you wish to say something?
Sir, like if
I think you have a poor audio,
what
so
you
we'll.
said is absolutely true. So when we are younger, maybe because when we are young, so we do not have the experiences of life.
Yeah,
So we accept whatever is catered to us. As we grow up, we become a little bit, what do you say, resistant to changes. So
yeah.
so Kushi, it is difficult for older people to learn new things and to change themselves. It is easier to mold younger generation.
Yeah, it's an example of clay. If the potter has to have soft clay to create the pot. Once the clay dries up, it's very difficult to make the pot. I gave you a very, very simple example. So, Kushi, you are still gentle clay, and God bless you. So, as you are the gentle clay, you can shape yourself. You can run a marathon if you want. But at the age of 66, I don't think I can run a marathon anymore. Though I could when I was your age, and I could even run when I was 40 better than you, because I had conditioned myself to run. Now that answers your correct question directly. At the age of 15, 20, I conditioned myself to run. So I could run at the age of 40 like nobody else. And that explains everything. Of course, I don't run now. That's a different story. So let's just forget that bit of it. So let's read one more portion if everyone's good with that. Workaholism is a life lie. All right. I really, I readily admit that I do not have the courage to take steps towards self acceptance or confidence in others. But is this really only the fault of the I? Isn't it also actually a problem brought about by other people who accuse me unreasonably and attack me? To be sure, not everyone in the world is a good and virtuous person. One goes through any number of unpleasant experiences in one's interpersonal relations. But there is something one must not get wrong at this juncture: the fact that in every instance, it is that person who attacks you who has the problem. And it is certainly not the case that everyone is bad. It is certainly not the case that everyone is bad. Please understand this. This is an important part. And I'm glad that bell rang at this time. It's important for us to have a large heart. And being large hearted is the key to be a better human. I want to give an example of Mahatma Gandhi. He was very large hearted, he was very forgiving. And that's why he became Mahatma in very simple parlance. And that's the important part of us humans. We need to be large hearted. So it says that in every instance, it is that person who attacks you who has a problem. And it is certainly not the case that everyone is bad. People with the neurotic lifestyles tend to sprinkle the speech that such words as everyone and always and everything, everyone hates me. They will say, or it's always me who takes a loss, or everything is wrong. If you think you might be in the habit of using such generalizing statements, you should be careful. Well, that does sound rather familiar. In Adlerian psychology, we think of this as a way of living that is lacking in harmony of life. It's a way of living in which one sees only a part of things but judges the whole. This is crucial. One sees only a part of the thing but judges the whole. This is very, very important. And so often, a figurative example of judges, it takes them years, it takes them decades to come to a judgment because they see every part. And the courage of writing a judgment is the biggest courage you need. It's a real, real challenge. Harmony of life philosopher. In the teachings of Judaism, one finds the following anecdote. If there are 10 people, one will be someone who criticizes you no matter what you do. This person will come to dislike you, and you will not learn to like him either. Then there will be two others who will accept everything about you and whom you accept too, and you will become close friends with them. The remaining seven will be neither of these types. Now, do you focus on that one person who dislikes you? Do you pay more attention to the two who love you? Or would you focus on the crowd, the other seven? A person is lacking in harmony of life and will see only that one person he dislikes and will make a judgment of the world from that. How beautiful. Intriguing. Khushie? An interesting word. You also use intriguing. Some time ago, I participated in a workshop for stammer sufferers and their families. Do you know anyone who has a stammer? Yes, there was a student at the school I went to who stuttered. That must be hard with both for the person who has it and for the family too. Why is stammering hard to deal with? The view in Adlerian psychology is that people who suffer from stammering are concerned only about their own way of speaking, and they have feelings of inferiority and see their lives as unbearably hard. And they become too self conscious as a result and start tripping over their words more and more. How beautifully stammering is explained. You start tripping over your words more and more. They are concerned only about their own way of speaking. That's right. There are not many people who will laugh at or make fun of someone when he trips over his words now and then. To use the example I just mentioned, it will probably be no more than one person in 10 at most, in any case, with the sort of foolish person who would take such an attitude. It is best to simply sever the relationship. But if one is lacking in harmony of life, one will focus only on that person and not end up thinking, everyone is laughing at me. But that's just human nature. I have a reading group that meets on a regular basis, and one of the participants has a stammer. It comes out sometimes when it's his turn to read, but not a single person there in the sort who would laugh at him for that. Everyone just sits quietly and waits in a quiet, natural way for the next words to come out. I'm sure this is not a phenomena that is isolated in my reading group. When one's interpersonal relationships do not go well, it cannot be blamed on the stammer or a fear of blushing or anything of the sort. Even though the problem is really that one has not attained self acceptance or confidence in others, or contribution of others for that matter, one is focusing on only one tiny part of things that simply should not matter, and from that trying to form judgments with regard to the entire world. This is a misguided lifestyle that is lacking in harmony of life. Did you actually convey such harsh idea to people who suffer from stammering? Of course, at first there are some adverse reactions, but by the end of the 3 day workshop, everyone was in deep agreement with it. It certainly is fascinating argument, but focusing on people who suffer from stammering seems like a rather special example. Could you give me any others? Well, another would be the workaholic. This too is an example of a person who clearly lacking in harmony of life. A workaholic is why is that? People who suffer from stammering are looking at only a part of things but judging the whole. With workaholics, the focus is solely on one specific aspect of life. They probably try to justify that by saying, it's busy at work, so I don't have enough time to think about my family. But this is a life lie. They are simply trying to avoid their other responsibilities by using work as an excuse. One ought to concern oneself with everything, from household chores and child rearing to one's friendships and hobbies and so on. Adler does not recognize any way of living in such certain aspects are usually unusually dominant. Ah, that's exactly the sort of person my father was. It was just to be a workaholic, bury yourself in your work and produce results, and then rule over the family on the grounds that you are the breadwinner. He was a very feudalistic person. In a sense, that is a way of living or refusing to acknowledge one's life's tasks. Work does not mean having a job at a company. Work in the home, child rearing, contributing to the local society, hobbies, and all manner of other things are work. Companies and such as just the one small part of that. A way of living that acknowledges only company work is one that is lacking in harmony of life. I want to take a digression here and say ये तो सरकार का काम है, not realizing सरकार किसकी है. This is a paradox we live in. ये सरकार का काम है, सोचिए तो सही सरकार किसकी है. Think about it. And that's the interesting thing. This is not my work, this is that person's work. And I gave an example earlier about camaraderie and how we at EBD or at Barista, where we are, we don't even shirk cleaning the loos every day because we feel this place for us is home. This place for us has no differentiation. And of late, I've been reading on the footsteps of the Buddha. And the first thing Buddha addressed in life was that there's no one known as untouchable. So when you look at what you read here about feudalism and about differentiation, about racism, it's happened simply because of personal selfish motives, nothing beyond that. Harmony means we all love and care for each other and we are comrades. It's exactly as you say. And it's not as if the family he's supporting has any say in the matter either. You can't argue with your father when he growls with a violent tone of voice. It's thanks to me that there's food on the table. Such a father has probably been able to recognize his own worth only on the level of acts. He works all those hours, brings in enough money to support a family, and is regarded by society, and on the basis he views himself as having greater worth than the other members of his family. For each and every one of us, however, there comes a time when one can no longer serve as the provider. When one gets older and reaches retirement, for example, one may have no choice but to live off one's pension or support from one's children. Even when one is young, injury or poor health can lead to not being able to work any longer. On such occasions, those who can accept themselves only in the level of acts are severely damaged. You mean those people whose lives style is all about work? Yes, people whose lives lack harmony. In that case, I think I'm starting to get what you mean by the level of being, which you brought up last time. And I certainly haven't given such thought to the fact that someday I won't be able to work any longer or do anything on the level of acts. Does one accept oneself on the level of acts or on the level of being? This is truly a question that relates to the courage to be happy. Thank you so much. You can now be happy. Our time of the day when the sun is set, we need to rest. Think about what we have said today. I will add this bookmark from the screen. I will stop sharing. I come back into the room. And before we sign off in the next 1 minute, anyone can unmute and talk.
Sir, fortunately, this youth means the meaning of integrity.
Well said. Anything else you want to add, Khushie?
Nothing, I just have 2 to 3 questions that I'll be asking in the next class as we don't have the time.
Lovely. So why don't you start the conversation and mark them in the WhatsApp group? There'll be more people to answer than just me. And put Shalini and put Gurdeep and put Manisha, put Minakshi, put all of us to task because we are all on the wrong side of age, and you need to teach us how to learn.
Sure,
Kunal,
I'll.
thank you. Kunal, you want to say something? Vikram, you wish to add something? Shalu, would you like to say something? It's Happy New Year.
Yes, sir. So I just wanted to say that that one line I heard that it is good that some of us can learn regardless of our age. So that is a very beautiful thing. If you're curious, so
Yes.
the age does not matter for anything. This is what I believe.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. A good finale to today's session. Shalini, you wish to add something?
Yes, so one more thing I would like to add is people who claim that they're workaholic and I think it is an excuse for shirking away the other responsibilities. Maybe it is the family duties or other relationships. So I think task. So then our lives will, because I have so and so in task, I cannot do other things. So that is not possible. So a person needs to be a good manager in the sense that should take care of all the responsibilities.
Absolutely. Very well said. It's beautifully said. Manisha, as my co host, you want to add something before we close?
Yeah, I just want to add on learning that learning is only one thing which starts from womb and ends at two. And when we are not learning something, so the new year never becomes happy. It really becomes another year. So we all need to understand and add on skills in our new year so that we grow, become a responsible person, and share our skills. As Khushi was saying that she has some questions, and yes, Khushi, please add on to your questions and we would be happy to help you out.
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you. God bless everybody and help me to be good. It's the simplest prayer. So we hope we all can be good in 2026.
I have this much of wisdom
Times.
or experience.
Yeah. Thank you.
So that person is going to become
Yeah, Shalini, we don't have a good audio from your side. And
state.
I don't know what is the reason. We don't have much of your dialogue. I hope it gets recorded in our text.
Like the standing water
Yeah,
also.
we don't have a good audio from you, Shalini. We have not
It
heard
comes
your. So why don't you write it down? Mark it in the WhatsApp, what you're trying to say, because the audio is very poor and we'll be struggling. Please mark it in the WhatsApp, not in the chat here, because the chat here will not come. Please mark what you're saying on WhatsApp. Maybe you can do a voice note and add it in WhatsApp. If that's as good as that, we'll hear you there. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for letting me read today. Thank you for letting me act youth and philosopher. And even more, thank you for letting me feel youthful because I thought I was only the philosopher. So, on that note, bye bye. Enjoy your Sunday tomorrow. Today is a very important day for us. It's the first day where we actually recorded the session called Learning Forward Saturday. And it gives me immense satisfaction, which I've shared, that I think all our sessions are very unique in their nature and character. And that's customized learning. So, thank you for joining us. Have a happy learning year. Bye bye.